Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We're an anime podcast where every 2 weeks after we watch an anime, we come on this podcast and we discuss that anime. We do it like we're a book club, even though we just watch television. But the main thing we do on this podcast is we just start the discussion. It's really up to you to finish it. You tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, your theories, where we're wrong, where we're right. That's what we're all about. With that said, on to the anime we watched. But first, I need to introduce my co-host. First off, we have the Prince Adam to my Gaston with his very hot take.
Exposition's awesome, and it should happen more often. And I actually don't mean that. I actually do mean that. It just needs to be done a little better. Really hot.
Okay, I like it. You know, we don't pre-screen these, so I need a moment to chew on it. But okay, I can go with that. We also have the Mad Madam Mim to my Newt. It's Jason with his hot take.
Miyamoto Musashi. Those films are better than a lot of anime these days. And if you don't know who that is, go look it up because it's amazing.
How many of them have you actually seen?
3 out of the 5, or is it a 6 movie series? I think it's 5.
Sounds so familiar. I should know
Googling.
this. Yes.
No, I spelled it wrong. I'm getting recipes for tomato mashi.
These are spaghetti western samurai movies.
Is this
from
like
the 60s?
The old? There was like an old blind guy with a cane. He walked around. I wonder if it's one of those movies.
Well, Nate, tell us one of the movies. Jason.
Yeah, tell us
All right.
about
So
it.
my favorite is he's basically he becomes a famous swordsman, and he ends up getting a lot of the wrong attention, and so there's a guy that he's kind of royalty, and he's like, there's no way you're that good. I'm going to defeat you, and so he's like, what?
Let's try this again. Name one of the movies for me, Jason.
Oh,
They're all titled that Miyamoto Musashi Duel at Gurney Island. Gunru.
It's like Samurai 1.
Gunrai.
Miyamoto.
Yeah.
Miyamoto. Samurai 2.
That's right.
Samurai 3.
They're Samurai 1, Samurai 2, Samurai 3. There you go. Specifically for number 3, it's the 1965. That one was remade a couple times.
56?
The remakes, I think, are all awful, but the 1965 one is so good.
Is that the duel at Ganryu Island?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's 65.
And so the story is that he ends up beating this royal person.
Are you
with
spoiling something again?
1965, Troy.
You just I've never heard about it. You just try to get a bunch of people to go
Right, fine.
watch it.
I will not spoil the ending.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jason never spoils anything.
I was about to call.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
That's a really good hot take. It's way off my radar, but it's obviously a cool thing. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. Actually, for end of year picks, I was hoping we could watch it, even though we usually pick anime. That 1965 one, I would really like to watch that as my pick, but that's a topic for off show. I'll let you decide.
And my name is Troy. My hot take is I can't do Thanksgiving. This is going to come out way too late. I was going to do a Thanksgiving thing.
Do a Christmas one.
Yeah, there you go.
A hot take is my favorite Christmas song is Carol of the Bells because it could be used to any action scene and it's just dope. It's pure fire.
Die Hard will never not be a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie. and show certain Christmas secrets, I think adults, have been revealed to my son. So he gets to now stay up. And when you stay up on Christmas, you get to watch Die Hard and watch Hans fall at the stroke of midnight. So I start Die Hard so that Hans Gruber falls into Christmas. And he's never seen Die Hard before, so I'm getting to show my young son Die Hard for the very first time, and he's not even going to care. And I'm the most excited I've ever been in my whole life. I'm going to be like, but he's barefoot and it's glass. He's going to be like, is there like a talking dog somewhere?
Then you're just going to look at him and say, yippee-ki-yay!
You said this was a Christmas movie, Dad. Where's Santa? All right. Our anime, The Witch and the Beast. That is what we're talking about today. Let's go to our non-spoiler reviews. This was Jason's pick, so he'll start us off.
This came out of left field because I wasn't sure what to expect. I love the title is a little subversive because it could be referring to a whole slew of things. I think that is just referring to one character. But anyways, we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. This had, like, if you've seen the Mushishi series, it had a little bit of that feel of the noir mystery, but in like a fantastical era. This had such great world building. I loved how it did a little bit of mystery solving along with mystery about the characters and why they were the way they were, and the slow burn of why they were the way they were, and like getting backstory near the end. So well put together. I was a really big fan of this one. I totally recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeremy, your thoughts?
I really like it. All the same reasons. A lot of times I kind of complain about how in stories, whenever there's magic, authors don't often do a great job of integrating it into the everyday society. And how would it affect police work? How would it affect how businesses work and how they operate, and especially the different levels of how common magic is. And this anime does a great job, and it even gives itself the extra challenge of saying, there are a range of locations with different popularity and commonality of magic. There's high magic, there's mid magic, there's low magic. And we're going to visit some of them, and who knows where they're going to go later. But the way that they've handled it in each society that we see so far has been really well done. So just that in itself would capture me. I would be like, show me more of these places. I love these tour animes, but the characters are great. They're engaging. They draw you in. I actually like them. And I like the conflict between the two main characters. It reminds me a bit of like Undead Unluck, but of course it doesn't have like the sexual overtones that Undead Unluck has. But yeah, it's really good. It's hard to compliment some of the things I want to compliment without spoiling, but it's very good.
I also came off with a positive vibe on this one. I very much enjoyed it. It was a breath of fresh air. It's qualifies as a seinen series, so more adult than typical anime. I don't think it's as adult as, say, something like Babylon.
Oh God.
Whenever I think of like an adult anime series, Babylon's like the top. Like that is the most adult, mature.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for young kids at all. For sure.
Traumatized them.
Yeah. I got Black Butler vibes off of it. There's fantastical stuff. There is some fighting and combat, but it's more about the magical world. And I think the strongest part of this is the concept, and it plays through its concept well. The characters were likable. There's one arc I kind of got I felt like it was leaning into shonen territory, but it quickly corrected afterwards, and it wasn't like it was bad. It just I'll get into the details in the spoiler section. So I very much recommend it. Yeah, if you're looking for something, I don't mean this as an insult, but like I think the Hot Topic crowd would be really into this show.
Oh man.
That's not it. I shop at Hot Topic too. Look, I get shirts there. They have really cool anime shirts, but you do see like Black Butler tend to be featured a little more than maybe in other anime stores, stuff like that.
I think the one thing I'd like to say is that this had. Never mind.
No spoilers, Jason.
No, it wasn't a spoiler. I just gone.
Oh, gotcha.
Classic Jason.
That's it. So Troy said this once a long time ago, and it's this like truism that I kind of keep in my brain, that there are some anime that just they only work there. Like if you try and take it to another medium, say Western animation or live action or some other storytelling method, it just doesn't work. But anime does this thing that goes, yep, that's anime. I think this is one of those shows where you go, it can only be this badass in anime. So anyways.
All right. Before we go to spoiler section, I want to talk about the OP and the ED. Your guys' thoughts?
OP was good. The music grew on me. I didn't quite enjoy it the first time, but I got into it. I thought the storytelling of the OP was pretty good. The ED was okay. I skipped it mostly because wasn't that into it. But
the moment that the piano became really clear in the OP, I loved it because I don't think I've ever heard like piano rock before, and that was really cool. Yeah, so I enjoyed both of them. The outro a little bit less so, but still good. The outro was a little bit weird, if I can say weird, just in the sense that like since we're not in the spoiler territory yet, the character that you're seeing is adorable, but should they be adorable? Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Do they want to be adorable? I don't think they want to be
That's
adorable.
fair.
It's kind of weird, but it's fine.
I didn't find either one like something to write home about or keep on a playlist, but I didn't dislike them either. The only thing I remember about the OP specifically is that it comes to a point where like the music stops and you think it's done, and then it's like, no, I got a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we didn't do okay. But yeah, they were both fine and serviceable of the anime, but I didn't find either of them a highlight of the experience. All right, now one last thing before spoilers, and that is to tell you what our next anime is, which is going to be called No Longer Allowed in Another World. It is a parody isekai about a guy who gets sent to another world, and instead of deciding to fight the demon lord, he decides, I'm just going to look for my girlfriend. I don't want to have anything to do with this isekai business. And the funny adventures that leads to instead.
I don't anticipate it being as funny as Konosuba, but I'm ready for another funny version of an isekai. Something to poke fun at it.
I'm really looking forward to a good isekai.
Oh, me too, but it's still airing, so I couldn't pick it.
You know, any isekai that's decent on this show.
Yeah, the good one. Shield Hero.
I heard that fell off. I heard the later seasons weren't good.
That's what I heard too.
I did too. Yeah.
Bummer. All right, now a spoiler section. We're going to be spoiling The Witch and the Beast. I don't think anyone knows anything about past this first season. There's clearly more going on in whatever the manga currently is. They literally kind of end on a cliffhanger of like, next adventure is about to start. But we're going to be guessing at theories anyway, even though people will know. You filthy manga readers.
How
You're
dare
one
you.
of them.
Undead Unluck is so good. So peak, man.
So one of them.
Okay. Real quick about mangas, though. There's a
Oh, here we
manga. the manga reading app I used was like, hey, there's a new manga out, and it's called Mad. I clicked on it, and it's very Walking Dead-esque, but it's about aliens have taken over the planet, and the last few human survivors are trying to survive while the aliens hunt them down. And I'm not going anything farther than that. It's just every episode or every chapter that comes out, I have no idea what's going to happen next. It swerves left and right, and like, oh, these are good guys, these are bad guys. What is happening? And it hardly has anything to do with the aliens so far. It is the anime version of The Walking Dead, but replaces zombies with aliens, and it's fantastic.
Cool.
All right, Witch and the Beast. That's what we're here for. Spoilers have been dropped. We're gonna be spoiling stuff. Guys, we're in a magical world with like a bunch of continents. It's not our world.
I actually genuinely wondered at first. I know we have 7 and they said 8, but I was like, I wonder if they'll just throw a fake continent on and it'll be ours with an extra.
Right.
But no, it's totally different.
Yeah, because we actually get a map, and
at one point.
It's funny because the way they say it is like, first continent is the most magical, but then as you get further away from it, you become less magical.
Okay.
And also, it seems not everyone, like the majority of the population of the planet, can't cast. It's only mages and witches.
Here's the other thing. I'm pretty sure it's a flat world, because if they're like, oh yeah, the first one is the most magical. The farther you get away, the less magical it gets. But I'm like, but then
it's closer.
The last one would be the second closest. So it's gotta be a flat world too. Anyway, this world has witches, and in fact, there were 17 original witches, and every witch has been a descendant of them, and they just are basically super magic users no matter what, and they tend to get corrupted, but it's not a necessity, and there is some other stuff that comes along with being a witch that gets revealed throughout the story. But most people are scared of witches because they can be very bad news. If a witch is bad, it's really bad. And that's where we start. Oh, also, they talk about witches' curses, which are so powerful you can't get rid of them except for 3 ways, and then they don't tell us the third way until later. If you get a kiss from true love, classic fairy tale stuff, and if the witch decides to take the curse back. And then there is a
She has to repent first. She has to decide that she has to decide what she did was bad, and then she can remove it.
Like, she has to have a literal change of heart.
Oh, yeah. She can't just be like, you can't like twist her arm into doing it. She has to want to do it and say the curse was okay.
And then is the kiss is it the curse user that finds true love, or is it the witch finds true love which breaks the curse?
It's the
that
curse
wasn't clear
user.
to me.
It's
curse
the person
user or
with
the cursed person?
Not curse user, the cursed person. Yeah.
Cursed person. Okay.
Yep.
All right. To that end.
Did it have to be royalty? I wasn't quite
sure.
Okay.
Just had to be true mutual love.
We meet our 2 main characters. One of them is cursed. We should start with Godot. I think, look, we're gonna rip off the Band-Aid. We're gonna reveal the twist of the curse as we talk about Godot. Also, just for anyone who's might be sensitive to that kind of thing, Godot is usually a woman, but is sometimes a man, and so we will probably refer to Godot as both many times. And I know in my notes it's she most of the time, and then suddenly it's he, and it just is. That's the concept of the character.
Just deal with it.
I love what happened to this character. And so we're ripping the Band-Aid off this.
Band-Aid off. Yeah.
Okay. Godot is a world-ending entity of some kind. He is a super powerful being, but
he's a beast.
Yeah. So he is the beast. However, the original witch, who's still alive, which shouldn't be
one of the originals,
of the original 17,
right, cursed this world-ending entity and swapped bodies with it, or didn't swap bodies, but she transferred to another body and left him basically took his soul and put it in her body.
Yeah.
And so now he's trapped in this witch's body. This is so good. I love this. And so now here's this, monster that's been put inside a witch, can't use the witch's abilities, but has all the strength and durability of a witch's body, which apparently a witch's body is very strong.
Regenerative, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he can do superhuman feats inside this body. I love this storyline, and actually the way it was revealed was so satisfying. This is so good.
Yeah, it's like if you forced Godzilla into a woman's body, and all he wanted to do was go do Godzilla stuff, but instead was forced to work for like the U.S. government on missions, so that every once in a while he could pop back into Godzilla form. And the beast is nowhere near that big, but in power scale.
Oh yeah.
And one thing they do early in this episode is they introduce the concept of magical beasts who can be kaiju sized. I think it's like a whale or something, or some shark. A shark kaiju runs through the city, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing to really show and feature. And then once they do the reveal, it's like, oh, that was important. That was very much, hey, super powerful magic beasts are just a thing in this world. And then introduced, what if one of them got trapped inside of a woman? So this character is just like this feisty, I want to kill everything, I hate everybody, I want to chew on regular bones.
Yes.
Straight up chew bones like a dog.
I love that, how like during one of the mealtime conversations they were having, she was getting irritated, and so he's just like, here, have a bone, and then shut her up for a while.
It's like a literal thing she does. It's just chew bones. All right, you guys had some good stuff.
Yeah, but imagine this, like, super powerful beast trapped inside this not so great body, and now with every step of I'm getting closer to my goal, it not being a step closer to the goal, and you just had to solve this like mystery or do this job, and it's not getting you to where you want to go. How frustrated that person or that entity would be. They do such a good job of showing that. So yeah, Godot's amazing. Godot's great to watch. And I think what's really great also is that both our main characters, even though they share some commonality with their goals, they have different motivations and different end goals. So the fact that they're working together, and also that we get a scene later on where they're not the greatest of friends.
Oh God, no.
but they're just kind of they're friends of necessity. And but I'm really enjoying this character.
Yeah, I love the relationship because it's sort of like an undesired mentor who is just latched on, and there's absolutely no way to get rid of this mentor and still achieve your goal, but you don't want to be taught. And the mentor is also like, crap, you could kill me, and so I'm on thin ice, just trying to deal with you every day. But I also love the fact that Godot does not break character. They don't take any shortcuts. They don't. There are so many moments where Godot could show more compassion, and I would expect that restraint, but Godot does not. And I love that. I think that is really bold, and it is very satisfying to see, because you have a character that is just consistent. You never wonder about whether they are being affected by time and association with the main character or the different missions and the people, right? Which is clearly, that's the goal of the mentor. He's trying to soften Godot, because at some point Godot is gonna get out, most likely. And when he does, if he's still this bestial world-ending entity, he probably will. He'll go on a rampage. So this is an opportunity to teach Godot the values of restraint and patience and kindness and love, which is actually mentioned later. So I love everything about the way they're handling this character. Great character.
And for me, honestly, because we find out the third curse removal, the temporary one, is you gotta kiss a witch. Any witch, one time per witch, will temporarily remove a curse. So the concept is this powerful Godot has to go steal smooches from witches, and then gets to turn into this giant beast form for a big epic fight. That's super fun. And every time she does get a kiss, it like frames it with like roses and soft lighting and watercolors, and it's like smooch stealing, death dealing. Like, okay, that's cool.
It almost seems like when it frames it like that, that's the magic happening. Like that is how the magic is conveyed to us, that the spell is being broken.
And what's even better is then the girl body just slumps to the ground, basically dead because the soul's left.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on the character specifically? We talked a little about the concept and the relationship, but
no, just to reiterate Jeremy's point of like there's a scene where Godot is in bad shape physically and like really broken, but here's the key word, and didn't matter how damaged Godot is, Godot's gonna go for it. And so it's like, you know what you get with Godot, something happens in the story, and like at that moment I was like, no, this is where Godot learns restraint, right? Nope.
Nope.
All right, then we need to talk about the other main character of the series, Ashef, the tall, dark, maybe creepy.
Yeah, creepy, slimy dude. That's also awesome.
Yeah, all our favorite character. We always talk about who's your favorite character, just so we know. And we all picked Ashef. So your guys' thoughts on him?
He is the mage used car salesman. I think he's so great. And one of the reasons is, again, it's that relationship that he's got with Godot and how they play off each other. But he's got a good heart, but he always comes off as if he's slimy and trying to get something from you, even when he's protecting somebody. And then also, he's just got this intuitive mind. And, it's very tough in stories to, the outcome. So it's like getting the characters to that outcome can sometimes feel contrived. It never feels contrived watching him solve problems. It feels so authentic, and him and like his 2 or 3 steps ahead thinking and actions feel not just realistic, but also they're well delivered throughout the story. And what I really appreciated is this writer was not afraid to have that backfire on him, because there's a couple times where it's a mistake and he pays for it. And so not only is he flawed, and their relationship is obviously very complicated, but he ends up getting a really strong attachment to this world-ending entity that he's forced to work with on a daily basis, because the order that he works for is basic. It's almost like looking after Yuji and Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like, okay, we're gonna assign someone to kind of look after you because you're a world-ending entity, but we also know we need to kind of make sure we train you to be not so bad. He does a fantastic job at exuding this air of confidence in kind of a slimy way, but also he's always helpful, and his intentions are usually good. So yeah, he was a great character.
Yeah. He didn't have any pretentiousness to him, and that really surprised me, because a character like this could easily be annoying with his know-it-all approach to things, and he didn't. He had a graceful way of approaching every problem, and yet everyone misinterpreted it as slimy, and that was a never-ending funny joke. Great character.
He's probably the part that gives me the most vibes from Black Butler. He reminds me of Sebastian in a lot of ways. He always talks around what he's saying. And like you said, he's very sincere about it and very well-meaning. But he's always like, maybe. It's like, wait, what does that mean? Why don't you just answer the question? Oh, I know, but I'm not telling. He does that a lot. But my favorite thing that they did with him is that he's this expert mage who has tons of information about this world and the inner workings. He can get stuff done. He's super competent, but he's not a great fighter. He's very good at undoing spells, he mentions. He's great at reconnaissance and he's great at defense. But when he needs to kill someone, he pulls out a gun and just shoots.
Yeah.
A bow. He just has a handgun on him. And when I noticed that and was like, oh, he doesn't have like a Kamehameha magic spell to battle. Then I was like, it's a perfect team. Someone who's pure offense has no idea how to restrain or hold back, and someone who's pure defense and support. And what a great team they make, even though they also are at odds because they have different end goals, but same current goals. You know, Jeremy already mentioned their relationship and how well it works. So it's great stuff.
Yeah.
I love. I'm super powerful mage. I cast gun.
Bang, bang.
Well, it's also really interesting. Like the type of gun that he's wielding doesn't really fit everything else that we're presented with. Like other people have muskets. They look like the technology level. It's not in sync. And so I kind of wonder if he's maybe from the 8th continent, because they say the 8th continent's so far away. It's kind of developed its own society, and it did like a screenshot of it, and it looked. I saw lights and I saw other things that.
I thought he was from the same town that the Demon Sword story took place in.
No, that was.
That's what he said.
Well, he said that was just a fake ID.
Oh, he did say that.
That's right, he did.
Yep.
He
may not even
be forged
from
passport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It may not even be from one of these continents. The more I think about it, the more the possibility is that he's actually from one of the the 17 levels underground.
Man,
that's interesting.
That last line when they go to the 4th level.
Vampires are here.
It's the vampire world. And I'm like, wait, are they the witch world? And like every world is its own monster world?
Yeah. Although there are 17 levels and 17 origin witches, it makes me think maybe there's a link there. Like each one created a world.
It'd be interesting that as you get further away from magic, technology gets better. I think that would be cool.
You get Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. It's a great game. You should go play it.
All right. The story. What happens in the story is they reach this town. They're looking for a witch. Suddenly, a giant magical shark kaiju starts attacking the city, and a witch shows up to.
It's actually it's a transmuted mage.
You're right. It was.
Yep.
And so just to give a little bit of context, Asif, God, I can't remember.
Asif's fine.
His order, they're basically the PIs of magic problems. So like if someone has
they're also collecting witches.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you need magic users to solve magic problems, what better power could you get than a witch? So that's why they could keep running into witches. And, Godot is trying to find the one witch that cursed him. And every time he comes across a witch, when they come across him, it's like, you recognize me, don't you? And they're just like, well, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, it's a great twist, because I was like, wait, that seems like an error, because she knows who cursed her.
Mm-hmm.
But she keeps asking these witches, do you recognize me? Do you recognize my curse? Are you the one who cursed me? Well, we find out that it's a body swapping witch.
Right.
It could literally be any witch.
Anybody.
It's Captain Ginyu.
So I love that the end results don't quite align, but because they happen to be hunting some of the same things, that's why Godot is like, fine, we'll work with you.
I have more.
So that's why. Yeah, so that's why Godot's here, is because they think, oh, witch is here, and so Godot's like, I want at that witch. Who is it?
But I noticed at the end of every case, they either arrest the witch or ask her to join the group. That feels important. Like they're building also their nuclear arsenal or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's also interesting that the executioners have a similar goal, except instead of recruiting the witches, they want to steal their powers.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know that was a possibility. So that's really interesting to me.
Okay. Yeah. So this hero of the city witch defeats this giant monster. Godot attacks because that's just what Godot does. That's how she says hello to witches. That gets them into some trouble, and they have to go away. They try to get to this witch's mansion later because there's an anniversary party. Anniversary of what? Only the witch knows. She's so great. Everyone loves her. And Ashraf's like, yeah, this is all not connecting. So they go back to the hotel. He ends up doing some research and he realizes what's happening. We cut back to that witch and her anniversary party, and the girl who's kind of been the talking to the audience and the characters of like, hey, this witch in this town, and she's so great. Well, she wakes up naked with her hands and feet missing in a room full of other naked women with their hands and feet missing. And the witch actually is evil. Because her grandmother had, or maybe even great grandmother, but yeah, I think it was grandmother, had saved this town from hellfire that literally exists under the town, but ended up being blamed for it and killed. So now she wants revenge and is using these people's bodies to unlock the hellfire back upon the town. Then we get Ashraf comes to the rescue, protects the girls. Godot does her thing, steals her smooch, turns into the beast, and he smashes the witch into the wall, and she's arrested, and everyone's hands and feet are reattached magically. This anime loves, and I mean loves, like Tom Cruise loves running, like Matt Damon loves being in cameos. This movie loves taking off arms and legs. Yep. Everyone loses their arms and legs in this movie, or this anime. Yeah.
Also, I love that every time Godot gets his body back and is about to do, like, basically he's invulnerable almost. Grabs this witch. He's like, this is gonna hurt. Just every time. Here it comes. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and so yeah, the witch is arrested, and everyone gets healed. So that is our introduction. Now, I already told these guys, but when I watched this, I had so much different expectations of what Godot was going to be, that even after, like, it was clearly just saying, hey, just so you know, the beast is the real one and Godot is the curse. And I was still like, so she's cursed to turn into a monster, but when it turns off, she gets to control the monster, or she'll die. I don't know why I added or she'll die. Like, she has to kiss witches or she'll die. And yeah, I did. Nothing made any sense, and it wasn't until like second, maybe even third episode, and she's like, I saw chewing on the bone, and I'm like, oh, she's just the monster.
Yes.
Not my smartest moment. But being honest, when I get mysteries right and stuff, I claim them like, oh, I knew this way ahead of time. I'll let you know when I'm an idiot too. Which was most of this anime. Speaking of mysteries, we come to our next episode where I also got wrong. This one is first we start off with our heroes, and Godot is pissed. They haven't chased a witch case in weeks. And he's like, hey, they end up having to take care of a magical beast for some rich guy, and he treats them to lunch, and she's all upset, and he's like, oh, look at this one. This could be what we're looking for. And implies they're going to go fight a witch. And I said it's an old lady who can't open a magical box. Just a simple milk run of a job. And that kind of gives us a sense of what Ashraf's organization does. They are literally just you need magic help, call us. But they also do that. And I have this thought when I saw this thing. That's brilliant. Because now they have logged and chronicled that magic box. They know about every magic thing happening by just offering free, friendly services to anyone with magical problems, and it probably is a huge source of information into this magical world.
Your data.
Yeah. And they do seem to know everything. Like,
that's right.
I mean, we see later, like, when Godot gets in a witch fight, Ashraf knows, like, 2 minutes before it starts. Like, they are on top of things. But yeah, I was like, that's a brilliant thing that they do, just these random odds and end jobs because it probably is how they get all their information, or at least one of their sources.
I also love that they don't have a headquarters so that they can't be attacked. They're just they're just a network.
It's a decentralized organization. They have cells.
He does say that anyone knows about, so it could still have a headquarters somewhere. They left it open.
He's always talking around. He never says.
Well, I love how like the way that they even find the door to get to the what did they call it? The tunnels or the catacombs? Corridors. That's right. Yeah. To get to the corridors is like this magical paper that you hold up and look through, and then you're like, yeah, there's the door, and then it burns up. So like they are the ultimate when it comes to secrecy.
One-time usage.
Yeah, you do not find them unless they want you to find them.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Exactly.
Godot is mad again, and he's like, "No, see, I was teaching you a lesson to not believe everything I said, not expect things. I never said it was a witch, and you just assumed that." They do get a black envelope, and he does admit black envelopes are usually witch related. So then we jump to the city that has a murdering witch problem, according to the cops. Someone is killing people, clearly magical, and then we meet the head detective on the case, and we learned it's the only mage on the detective force. So we didn't mention Oshof's also a mage, so mage is a thing you can do. But like witch, you're like naturally and super powerful. Where mage, you have to learn it, and you're bound by restrictions. That's where magic is.
Also, they have some kind of mark on them as well, and they're in lineages, so it is hereditary for the witches. And they have a duration of 200 years, is what we were told. Although it seems that some can break the rule, and not all children get the same powers passed down.
Oshoff is also covered in rune tattoos, from head to toe. Did they ever reveal what those are?
I've only seen him like on his left arm. He has him head to toe.
I assume it's head to toe.
I kind of wonder if that's just glyphs he's already prepared that are like waving around.
So I was about to say those come and go depending on if he's casting.
Oh, I thought they were always there. Okay.
I thought they were always there when he pulled his sleeve up, but his sleeve was usually down. But I don't know.
He does seem like the kind of guy who would always have a spell prepped, ready to go, just like a permanent. Hey, I tattooed this. Now I can always cast it whenever I want.
Where's my crows? Where's my crows?
Okay, so this detective, she's the only mage of the group. While she's walking one night after looking at a crime scene, she comes across Oshef and Godot. They ask to talk with her, and she goes to this booth, and they start telling her like, "Hey, we're here to help. We're with this group." And she's like, "Okay, I put us in a magical bubble where you have to tell the truth." So they reveal, this is Godot is trying to break a curse, and we do have ulterior motives, but we do want to help. And she's like, "Well, okay, I buy that." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't a magical truth bubble. I tricked you." And Oshef's like, "That was awesome."
Yeah.
Well played.
Yep.
And then we see the killer take another life. They work together doing investigating, and this ends up being our biggest clue, is that there's riddles being left behind by the killer at these scenes, and they go to the last person who bought this riddle book, and the detective mentions, I have the riddle book, that's why I recognize him. And I was like, "Oh, you're the killer. I got you. I'm on it."
Yeah.
I was wrong. It is the right clue. I picked the wrong suspect. Anyway, they find another victim inside, and the detective is like, "Hey, just be careful. People who get close to me end up dying." She leaves, and then they instantly get attacked by the killer, Oshef and Godot. Which is, again, I was like, okay, so it's definitely her. Like, she leaves the area, then comes back to kill him.
Yeah.
So easy, anime. I got you. No. After they get attacked for a little bit, and then the witch runs away. So they go back to the detective and like, okay, you're clearly linked to the witch somehow. What's going on? And she shares her backstory of she had two sons who died in a fire, and there was a riddle left behind, and then her boyfriend slash partner on the force ended up getting killed by this witch because the witch creates purple gas, which can then control objects like gravity, telekinesis kind of thing, and killed her boyfriend. And so ever since then, it's just been personal. And so they set up a trap for the witch. The witch shows up, does the purple gas, starts taking out cops, and then they end up chasing the witch away. And Ashoff uses his crows because he has familiars that he uses all over the city. I thought the crows were for the witch because we hadn't seen them before. They started showing up in these episodes, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird."
I totally did too.
The very first, like before the credits went or before the OP went. Yeah.
Yep. It's Ashoff's crows. They track him down, and it turns out it's not a witch. When Godot jumps in to attack, it's actually two boys. It is her sons. And it had been hinted at the beginning of the story that there's these magical objects called forbidden instruments, and they basically give you witch-like powers, but they come with a huge cost. And they revealed this book showed up. These two books showed up. They're a set, and they had to start feeding it lives, or it would kill them. But they also are weird. The detective is their adopted mother, and they had fallen in love with her, so they killed the boyfriend. And they reveal, hey, you haven't fed the books because all those cops you killed earlier, those were just blood bags in leather bags, with cop coats on them.
Kind of hard to see in all that fog.
Yeah, and the detective just kills them. It's like, all right, I take care of it. Bang.
Okay,
I didn't expect her to just like be so cold-hearted and just be like, yeah, you guys are a problem. Bang, bang.
Oh, I love this. I love this.
Yeah, I did too.
There was this recurring line. It was said by 3 different people. You crossed the line. You crossed the line. And at that point, the justice is harsh and meted out as needed. And I thought it was such a good decision to actually have her be the one that makes that decision and isn't like screaming and weeping in the background. Just because the damage that they did and how horrible they were, even at the end, they were still horrible until they knew they were going to die. And yeah, I was like, wow, this justice.
Yeah, not pulling any punches.
Yeah.
There's a couple things it does that kind of eases it into a better decision too. It shows that she kind of only had recently adopted them. They were pretty. It wasn't like she raised them from babies. They were older teenage young men at the time she took them in. And just because wanted them to have a family home, a structure, was trying to help them out. And also, it's mentioned later what the book is about to do to them is way, way worse than what she did to them. So I don't think that's really on her mind, but it is a mercy at that point for her to take that action. But it wasn't like she was shooting her baby boys or anything like that at that point. So it made sense. Like, as a detective, this is what I got to do, and is the best course of action with what is in front of me at the time too.
But what was also a bit sinister is she doesn't remember those books, putting those books where they said they found them.
Yeah,
apparently those books got there by themselves to be found, and so no, that just adds another level of awesome complexity to this. That there's these super beings or entities, and now there's these witches, and then the super items that are forbidden. And so it just kind of brings it, like, those 3 really round out how, like, a lot of the stories and the coolness.
And I bet that's just the tip of the iceberg. The way that they're preparing things here, I think that we're just going to keep getting surprised if we were to continue watching further seasons. It's great. They do such a good job.
After this story arc, I was like, this is awesome. I thought, again, after the first episode, it'd be more battles. There's no witch showed up. It wasn't a fight. There wasn't really any fighting to do. It was just, it wasn't really a murder mystery because it wasn't like a whodunit, but it was more like a psychological thriller type thing, like Seven or other movies that are like Seven. I watched movies more than Seven.
And of course, Godot's upset.
A little bit of Psychopaths.
And of course, Godot's upset because there's just no witch. It's like,
no
witch.
Waste of time.
Yeah, Godot is grumpy again. This next story arc is not going to help either. All right, so I was really digging what they do next. We see our characters. A criminal runs by them, running from the cops, and Godot knocks him out. And they notice that the person that was running with a knife is undead. And the cops are like, "Yeah, we've been having a problem with undead." And Ashraf's like, "Oh yeah, that's complicated stuff, and kind of outside my department. I would love to help, but I can recommend a consultant." And I thought, "Oh, cool, we're gonna see like a team up." Nope, Ashraf and Godot, they're out.
And I actually really appreciated this because this wasn't my main character can do all of the things. It's like, no, there is some clear, I'm a professional and I'm a professional at these things.
Yep.
I'm going to let the professionals at those things take care of it.
And I love that the anime was willing to just take on this other set of characters, but it didn't take away too much from the main storyline. Like a lot of times we'll complain about that, how, just ditch these other characters because the main character or someone else needed more development. But I think they did a great job, even sacrificing 2 whole episodes, or was it 3? I think it was just 2.
It was just 2.
Just 2 whole episodes to a completely different set of characters, really building the world as well as the roster. Really well done.
Totally agree.
And but while that's true, still serving the world building. I noticed, oh look, the Magical Order has another witch in its armory.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're really being revealed here, is like, hey, we use witches sometimes for our ends.
I did like that we didn't discover she's a witch until later.
Yeah, I'm revealing it early, but it, like, when they did that, I was like, oh, this really does connect with what they're building everything around.
I thought she was going to be a lich, the way that they prepared things.
I kind of was hoping that she would be, but she kind of is.
I wonder if she is, actually. I wonder if as a witch, she's also discovered a way to make herself a lich, because she breathes cold. Everything around her is cold. That's usually the sign of, like, a very powerful undead.
I thought Johan was the necromancer for sure, and let his undead boss him around. As soon as he got his throat slit, I was like, oh nope, I got it wrong. He's the undead. That one was easy enough, but yeah, I again whiffed really hard. Like, yeah, you're the necromancer, buddy. I'm on to ya. Oh, I may have messed up that last mystery, but old Troy's back in.
Not this one.
Not my best outing for mysteries, guys. All right, so yeah, they show up and talk with the cops. Basically, the rules of necromancy in this world are that the necromancer has to constantly readjust the undead because they get a bit crazy. There's 3. We learned about 3 modes. Yeah, you do it.
Well, there's only one legal way of necromancy, and it becomes a service, and it's a service to resurrect. It's actually, so necromancy in this world is to not just bring the dead to life, but to restore them to the living. However, it has to be of consent, because we find out that
huge cost.
So souls, in order to get reincarnated, have to go through the soul stream, and resurrecting somebody pulls them out of that stream, and they can never go back to it. And once that body decays and dies, then they're just lost in the void forever. They'll never be reincarnated again. So yeah, huge cost. But if you decide, hey, before I die, I want to come back. You sign the right paperwork. A necromancer, can you bring me back to life? And it takes in a tremendous amount of magical energy to maintain them. And they're basically a normal person. They're not just an walking undead with, falling off limbs and whatever, right? So it is, if you just resurrect somebody with very little magical energy as just a husk, then yeah, they end up just being a walking undead. But I did find that it very interesting that this world is like, okay, some provinces they outlaw it, outban it outright, but in some provinces, they're like, okay, with consent, we'll legalize it and bring people back to be with their loved ones. And I thought that was a really neat system they had.
Yeah, I thought some of the rules are very esoteric, and I'm still curious as to why. But one of the rules is you can't resurrect yourself. And I don't know how that would work. Another one, but I kind of think that might be what's going on with Christoffel, the witch necromancer lady. And then there is you can't resurrect anybody that is family within 2 degrees of separation. And you have to get not just the contract signed by the person, but the entire family of that person has to be okay with it as well. Like they have to convince them all.
I thought the consent had to be the person or within 2 family blah blah blah. Because there's a scene where Jeff the cop, great name, his fiance had died, and because he hadn't married her, a guy's like, "Oh man, too bad you could have brought her back," and he's bummed about it, even though he doesn't really like necromancy anyway, but he never got to make that choice for her.
Oh, it wasn't that he could make the choice. At least in the subtitle, the way it was expressed was that he could have at least contributed to the overall voting that the family.
Okay. Okay. Well, we need to talk about our these 2 new main characters for these 2 episodes, Fenora and Johan. Your guys' thoughts on them?
Johan was okay. Like he was very tropey anime helper, but Nora was amazing. I thought her character was great. She kind of came off mousy, but there was this underlying almost sinisterness about it a little bit, and like extra smarts, but just was coming off as like that feminine I know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to be too pushy kind of thing. And then come to find out she's actually a full-blown witch and she has immense power.
And an army of death knights.
Right. And she was never in any danger. But she's got a very similar intelligence set that Osif does, in that the fact that she can think 3 steps ahead, that she knows the things that the organization is able to provide her as far as intelligence and be able to use that to her advantage. And she has the right tools to deal with. She's very much a specialist. It's like Osif's the electrician and she's the plumber, and she's going in to solve this problem because she is a professional, and this is what she goes out and does. And also her banter with Johan is pretty great. So yeah, I liked both these characters.
I just love thinking that Johan is actually a Death Knight, because he doesn't behave like a Death Knight at all, but I think he is. I think that's the status of undead that he maybe has, because he's not just a regular undead. Also, he's really brutal. Like, I didn't expect what he did. That was a shocker to me, to the actual bad necromancer. But it's interesting. Like it develops these characters in a complex way. And you wonder what kind of baggage he has. I'm also wondering like why that eye patch is there. I thought we saw both his eyes for a second, but I'm doubting myself now. So yeah, they're great.
I liked both characters, even though I was trying to figure out which one was which. but their relationship, I think, is super cool. The fact that Johan is this, she's whipping around, carrying my luggage. He's getting attacked. She's like, don't worry about that. To other people,
Right.
but we see small little signs that she is super attached to him, cares for him very deeply, but just doesn't show it in any way. And even him being like, "Oh, my life is so terrible," and the cop's like, "Well, you could do something about it." He's like, "No, I'm actually pretty good with it."
Yeah.
Yeah, their combination works for me very well.
Also, we come to find out she has a deep concern and care for the souls of the dead. Like, she has this genuine, like, care for these lost souls, and her actions are pretty great. So we'll get into those.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, they meet with the cops. They get information that there's just basically a bunch of undead without a necromancer. They don't know who the necromancer that brought them back is, so no one's taking care of them. No one's updating them. They go to this abandoned church where she lights a special torch that will summon basically undead that aren't currently being controlled. Or okay, you guys are gonna have to explain the automatic, semi-automatic, manual thing. I get it, but I'm not gonna be able to put it into words very well. So help us out here.
So basically, the least amount of magical energy to create husks is automatic. So you just basically raise them and then you walk away, and they're the Walking Dead kind of husks. Semi is you've given them a task, and it takes more magical energy, and they will perform that task to in infinite, right, and until their body decays. And then manual is I've brought this person back to full. They have their own reconnaissance. They just need maintenance.
This is not how I understood it at all.
Oh, okay. Jeremy, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right, but the way I understood it was that automatic, semi-automatic, and manual was entirely just the mode of control, and you can switch freely between them, which is what we saw the necromancer do when he dropped the maid. He left manual control, and because there was no soul left, basically, or so little of it left, she just collapsed because he allowed her to go back into automatic, or maybe semi-auto. But that's how I interpreted it, was that automatic was basically, since all undead are familiars of the necromancer, they don't get freedom unless the necromancer gives them freedom, which is automatic mode. And so that's the day-to-day citizens that are running around and doing whatever they want to do, living their lives. They're on automatic. Semi-automatic is they have a goal, but how they achieve that goal is up to them because they're still in automatic mode. They may not even realize they have the goal. And then manual mode is complete domination, where the necromancer is just speaking through them and looking through them and controlling them.
Okay, so the same thing backwards.
Yes.
And
basically, I had it backwards.
But
I can't weigh in.
It doesn't have anything to do with like the state of the body. Like they could be decrepit and he could take manual control, or they could be completely perfect and he could take manual control.
But I do think Jason's right that there's a mono level difference between three modes.
Not between the modes, but definitely between the maintenance, because she did say that it takes a lot of mana to maintain them. That's the issue. Raising them doesn't take much mana.
Right, because he wasn't bringing back. She mentioned like you didn't give them back all their organs.
Right.
Yeah,
and he didn't properly fight the decay that was continuing to happen either.
Yeah, so when she lit the lantern, it was very much like a compulsory movement towards it, like moths to a
everyone in automatic or semi-automatic
that had lost their mind.
Right.
Yeah. So if they lost their mind, then the light would be the brightest thing to them. If they hadn't lost their mind, like Johan, who's also an automatic, then they don't see the light.
And also, like, if you raise an undead, another necromancer cannot do maintenance.
Yes.
It has to be the person that did the raising.
Which is where the mystery is, because we have all these undead. We don't
Yeah.
even know what necromancer it is. We can't fix it until we find them. That's the mystery they're trying to solve. Is who is the necromancer that made these?
And that means that if you ever want to be resurrected, there's still an expiration on your life. You cannot live forever this way. It's only a temporary reprieve.
And yeah. So a mob of almost zombies attacks the church. Johann fights them off while Fenora is just kind of like musing and solving the mystery here. They find a path nearby and follow it to this estate. Johann is grabbed by this giant guy, and this maid comes forward. These are all undead, but they're all being controlled by this evil necromancer, and they're invited in. And the maid is literally Jeff the cop's dead fiance. And then the necromancer is like, I don't know who you are, young lady, so I'm going to get myself a bargaining chip. So this big undead guy slits Johann's throat. And the necromancer's like, I can bring him back. Just come on inside and we'll talk. So they do.
In subtitle, what's really interesting is that she says, I need to tend to him, or I need to, I forget the term she used, but it wasn't like resurrect him or anything like that. It was like saying, I need to maintain him. And that's where you knew, okay, yeah, he's undead already. Like, he didn't just die for the first time.
She goes in and talks to him. He reveals his whole why I did this, which is, hey, my girlfriend died and she was really hot, and I want to bring her back, but I'm not quite good enough at it.
It really is.
It's so bad.
So I've been practicing bringing other people back to see
redheads.
And she lost all her skin too. She burned up in a fire and all her skin is gone. So he's practicing bringing people back and restoring parts and taking the parts because he can just give new skin to her if he takes it from other people. Fenora's like, that's dumb. He's like, yeah, but you're super hot, so I'm gonna use you. You're the one I'm gonna use
face for this recipe.
Yeah, and I'm taking all the drama and seriousness out of it. It's played off as very intense moment, and yeah, she does the whole thing like you're literally ripping souls away from eternity because of your own selfishness. And he's like, oh, and she reveals I'm not just a necromancer, I'm a witch. He's like, well, I have an undead army, and she's like, I have undead death knights, and she tells him kill everyone but Jeff, which means they also kill the fiance.
Yeah.
Cut
her head off right in front of him.
Yep. Then the necromancer, who's run away and is planning to bring his fiance back as a warrior to help him fight, because who cares about being hot when he's about to die? But then Johann, he's undead and can heal, which is not a thing undead are supposed to be able to do. He butchers.
Like, I'm not just undead. I'm a witch's undead.
And he butchers the necromancer, but leaves him alive for Fenora.
Barely.
Right. And then she shoots him after telling Jeff, "Hey, I'm about to commit a crime.
Yeah.
And you need to keep it a secret." And the crime isn't. I was like, "Oh, she's gonna murder him. Yeah, that's a crime." No, that's not the crime. The crime is she brings him back to life. So, and the reason is, now that he's undead, he's still a necromancer and can keep all these undead maintained
using her power.
Through borrowed power. She's now his necromancer. She's gonna give him power to maintain everyone, which is crazy amount in power difference, because it seems like that's a drop in the bucket for me to do this service. Yeah, including the fiance of Jeff.
Yeah, and the horde that Johann put down earlier. Like the numbers.
Everyone's back.
All of the undead like axe head people that he had created that we have no idea who they are. Like, that's just insane. Because the way they described it, I think they had like 3 or 4 necromancers in town, and they had 21 undead, and that was that's a good amount. So that puts it at like 7 undead per necromancer. So this guy's supposed to take care of like, I don't know, probably
40
70.
or 50.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, that's a drop in the bucket for her. That's insane levels
And
of power.
Also, what's really amazing for this guy, not only is he now dominated by her as a familiar, but like Troy was saying, as soon as he dies, then he doesn't have to worry about these undead anymore, except she lives a real long time.
Yeah.
So he's going to be doing this a real long time.
And she just like stabs his head with her nails. Basically, she's going to torture him. Like, she's not going to make his life easy for this time either.
Yeah, he doesn't get to just go on living while also doing this work. He's going to be, she's going to keep him in a state of, you deserve this fate kind of thing. All right, we go on to our next arc. We are told about the Paladin Corps, which is a service of the Global Holy Church, the most powerful organization in this world. And the Paladin Corps is basically their magical military. And then it's hinted there's a dark thing in the church that we keep a secret.
They're not quite at odds with the Magical Services Shadow Organization, but
it is core, isn't it? It's not core.
Yeah, it's core.
We were just talking about undead. I totally get it.
No, I read things as they're written. Whatever.
There's a P. It's just silent.
Yes. I know. That's what.
And I was saying that to Jeremy.
Silent.
I was trying to defend you, Troy. But like awesome shadow organization, like the Paladins know of them, and they don't exactly work together, but they're not exactly enemies either. They just kind of sometimes get in each other's way, or sometimes will do things to mutual benefit, but they don't. They're not friendly.
I love there was a line that Ashraf said that was, I can't remember it exactly, but basically he was saying we don't want to outright say who we are or that we disagree or whatever, because we don't want to start an all-out war. So they are ready to go to war. Like, if they disagree enough, if they're ever acknowledged by the Paladin Corps will probably have to come get them. But as long as it's never formally acknowledged, there. Yeah.
Doesn't Asif say the Paladin Corps would wreck them, basically just because of numbers?
That's the impression I got. Yeah.
I also say biopic instead of biopic.
Biopic? Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it's biopic. Like when you make a movie about like a musician, it's a biopic. But I say biopic.
Oh, I thought you meant like when you make a profile pic, it's a biopic.
No. Anyway. And then again,
makes it sound like it's two.
There's another faction in this global holy church that we'll get to later.
Oh yeah.
New mission, and it's a witch case, but this time the Paladin Corps will be involved. This had come up in the murder mystery one because he had pointed out it's weird the Paladins aren't here. And it was because the mayor was keeping glory, but it was also the big clue that this wasn't actually witch related, because if it was, the Paladins would have showed up anyway. Anyway, they go to this town where a witch is being hunted by the Paladins, and the witch is having a battle with Ice Mage, and they sneak their way into town first by lying to the guards with fake IDs. And oh, look, this mysterious coffin I carry on my back has the seal of approval by the church. It probably does, but it's also definitely not legit. Then they knock out their escort.
Don't kill him.
Yeah,
that was a cool moment. The guard asked a question, and then Asaf's response is, "Don't kill him," and she just whap. So, they go to the magic barrier, and Ashraf's like, "This is my specialty, is making little holes in magic barriers." The one battle that was happening is already done, but they do see the witch run by. And we also then catch up with that Ice Mage, who we find out later is carrying an ice elemental inside of him.
Oh, the mage, yeah, the witch is weak. But yeah,
the witch is weak. Yeah. The witch is Helga she's a blade witch, which means she can make swords, much as she wants.
Which we don't
A
get
lot of
enough
them.
of in anime.
Yeah, you never seen anything like this before. Your guys' thoughts on Helga?
Liked how she was used, and also her naivety, but also her relationship with the sword. She wasn't a hugely impactful character for me, but I did like her place in the story.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. At this point, we didn't know that a witch could only be kissed once to unlock that power, so I kind of thought she was going to be a recurring character.
I think we know that.
We didn't actually get told it could only happen once until Flavel, or whatever her name is, Farmville girl.
I feel like I knew that, but I can't tell you
Hmm.
why. Huh.
I could have missed
I
it.
could have, yeah, same here, because that's when I thought I learned about it, but I could have
Yeah.
missed it too.
Okay.
But she didn't. She wasn't. I thought she was funny. It was nice to see that there was a witch that wasn't a powerhouse. She was actually having trouble with pretty much everybody that she was fighting with. She was not winning. And then finding out later that there was actually a really good reason for it, and that maybe that reason is partially gone. I don't think the sword's dead, but certainly doesn't need as much power to keep it bound at the moment. Her backstory is tragic, but I also didn't realize swords could go through heads that easily. That was really weird. But yeah, I really like the relationship she has with the world-ending sword. It's very sweet, and I kind of was affectionate for the sword at the very end when he's like, "Oh, someone doesn't hate me."
I'm an evil sword. I don't like you. You're the best. You're my best friend.
You're my best. It was super cute.
I was a little surprised in the English dub. Her voice actress is kind of like a as if I don't even have a boyfriend yet.
Oh
type.
no!
It wasn't that bad. He's exaggerating.
Oh my God.
It's a little bit though.
A little bit, but it's because they're trying to portray her as young.
Yes. She's...
So young is Valley Girl. That's
Yeah.
She's not. It's not that strong.
There's a
of
little Valley girl in
It's
there.
a little bit, but it's not like you portrayed it.
That just sounded like, what is that, Purple Princess from Adventure Time?
It's not like she's like, oh my God, stop attacking me. It's not like that.
I was raised by a family of wolves.
That Purple Cloud Princess is the best part of it.
She's awesome.
Every time
Yes.
is great. Yeah, she was fine. This is the weakest part of the show for me this season. And I felt like they were setting her up to be a frequently recurring character. It's actually surprised she wasn't in the last episodes more. But yeah, she works.
At all.
Sword steps are cool. Like the fact that she uses her swords for more than just attacking is in practical purposes is good.
It was really funny. There's like this one scene where she's standing next to a wall, and there's like this cloud of dust, and her swords are just going tick 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 tick. I have never seen summoned swords be used to drill through a brick wall before.
Yeah, she's got unlimited.
That was a first. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my issues more come up with what they do in the story here, and she's definitely not the worst character in this arc. So, okay, the ice guy, Matt Kugat.
I had my expectations completely subverted. I thought he was going to be a super.
It's one of the good ones.
I thought he was going to be a super trope character. This arrogant, I'm all powerful, how dare you go against my rule kind of guy, and he totally wasn't. He was probably the most righteous character out of all the characters in this entire thing, and you didn't see it coming, and I liked that a lot. He was a guy in charge that was actually trying to do the right thing, even though he had he was in the Paladin Corps that was doing Paladin Corps stuff. But he tended to do the things for the right reasons. And that put a nice layer of complexity between Godot and Asif, because they're also trying to accomplish their goals the quote unquote right way. So it wasn't this battle of good versus evil. It was this, we have different goals, and then but then we're gonna throw some actual evil into the mix and see what happens. So that I actually really enjoyed this story arc.
And once we learned that about him, it actually made a lot more sense why he had a pact with a primordial elemental. Because certainly this elemental isn't going to just make a pact with anybody. There had to be something really special about this guy. And it seems like that's what was special, was his righteousness and his desire to save, as opposed to, everybody else, whatever they came with. So that was pretty cool to see that. Even like there's scenes where they talk about how if you harm him at all, the elemental responds with wrath and will attack you back. But he's like holding the elemental back in his mind, because he's like, no, I don't know if she's being coerced to do this through mental magic, mind control, or not. So he was a really cool character. I also liked how at the very end he's like, yeah, you said I was soft. I kind of don't want to kill these guys, but I will. I will kill these guys. I will execute them. They did cross a line.
I think the weakest part about this is like obvious evil guy is obvious.
Yeah.
Like there was no subterfuge to that. It was like, oh, well, there is, found him. There he is.
Yep.
For Matt, my expectations were not subverted. He feels very, he's a character trope of I'm this powerful guy in the military, but I'm actually good-hearted, even though it seems like the military itself is not. I saw where they were going with him from the first scene. But it's not a bad trope, and it's not that I didn't enjoy the character. It just, this felt like a shonen. This whole arc feels very shonen, and he felt like a shonen character dropped into, and I was like, where's my dark murder mystery thrillers?
Yeah.
And we just came from necromancers, and you tore souls out, and now have ice powers flying around, and
we're power scaling.
And like you said, obvious villain is obvious, and also that to me was the big, like, this isn't a bad guy because you have literally like Jafar standing behind him, and I'm like, oh, okay, so there's the bad guy. So this must be a not as bad guy who's just being used at the moment.
I was really hoping Matt was going to be Esdeath, but didn't end up happening. So
yeah, no, he didn't sprout any extra. Yeah. So I noticed that both of you guys mentioned that the Paladin Corps seemed like they didn't have the best of intentions. I didn't really get that impression. I got the impression that the Paladin Corps just showed up when there were witches. They dealt with the witches. They cared for the citizens. They made sure everybody was safe. No.
I think their intentions are for the interest of the public, if you will. But they're very governmental. And they also don't consider, it doesn't seem they consider collateral damage when achieving their goals.
In buildings, no, but human life, yes.
Yeah, they did evacuate the town.
That's what I'm saying, very governmental, but they don't seem to care about the additional consequences of achieving those goals, and those consequences don't end up being their responsibility because they don't care. So I don't think they're going to rebuild any of the buildings. I don't think they're going to worry about if anyone got hurt while they were trying to get the thing done.
Maybe you could be right, but there was one scene that really stuck with me, and that was later on when Ashef gets punched in the gut and his ribs are broken, and as he's falling backwards, the window behind him breaks out, and even as he's like dealing with that pain, he still fixes the window with magic. And so in my mind, I was thinking, okay, so it actually takes very little magic to manipulate the environment and like fix things. So I kind of wonder if that isn't a part of it, because I did notice, they put up those barriers. I don't think they were just to keep her in. I think they were also to try and keep damage to a minimum. But I wouldn't be surprised if, given that there's so many of them are mages, if they were able to repair things fairly easily. They don't explicitly do it, and they don't really talk about either way. So both are definitely possible. But I got the impression that they were gonna put things back together. I could
I
just
mean,
be
they
having
could.
wishful thinking, but yeah.
Yeah.
To me, the anime put all these guys in masks with no eyes, just white blanks. To me, they're saying, "Hey, duplicitous, untrustworthy," and then when you find out Kugat is a good guy, his mask has fallen off, and you get to see his eyes, and it's like, okay, this is that's the same exact time that Ashaf's like, "Hey, I think you are a person of justice and truth, and I can trust you. So let's have a discussion." It seemed to it just to me
I
visually
like
they're
that.
saying they're bad guys,
Hmm.
but not evil. Like, hey, there is evil witch. We're here to deal with evil witch. But they're also not the group that says, is this evil witch? Do we have the right evidence? Should we do a try? Do we?
Yeah,
Can we
they
apply
definitely are
justice here?
not going to like put her.
Right.
Well, although he did say bring her back alive,
The priest did, but that's because he
the
wanted
priest
it.
did. But that,
And
yeah,
that
they may not have wanted to. That's
yeah, but
true.
the fact that he has to point that out of like, hey, don't kill this witch automatically. Like I'm not saying I thought the paladins were evil, but as far as antagonists and not the good guys of this world, um, like our main characters are, is where, and again, more in the
Mhm.
visual what they did with the characters, the fact that they're using basically drones. Everyone's wearing a mask.
Well, but like, sure, there were some visual decisions, but everything made sense, right? Like as far as uniforms go, I've seen uniforms like that before. I like what you're saying about the mask coming off thematically. It definitely it syncs up and it tells a story well. The drones just make perfect sense because you don't want to have casualties, especially not of well-trained mages. But very interesting. From the perspective of witches and also from like the magic community there, the secret one that he's a part of, I could totally see them being seen that way. But I bet you from the perspective of like regular day-to-day citizens, they're like the revered and celebrated military force.
Right, but I'm not talking about in world. I'm talking about what the story is telling me, the viewer,
Ah.
of hey, here's our scrappy duo sneaking in to get this witch, and even they attack her immediately, right? That's just what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But they present Matt as like he's a fight first. He doesn't take any prisoners. There's no mercy in this
Yeah.
man. And then remove the mask visually and say, actually, he's very merciful. He holds back. He's not the kind of guy who just kills a person without knowing for sure that they should die.
Mm.
But they were hiding that card
Mm-hmm.
visually on purpose.
Yeah.
But in world, you're absolutely right. They're out there doing the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember where we were. They just saw the witch, yeah. And then Godot does her thing and punches. And Ashaf actually captures her in a Pokeball. No,
Yes.
he has a spell that traps her, basically
Look out,
reduces her
Nintendo's
to a
already
ball.
filed a lawsuit.
Right.
No, they're fine if you steal all their visual stuff. They just don't steal their technology in the background.
Steal the Pokeball and the code.
Anyway,
Or the concept code.
she burst right out, and then this is where the big reveal of this character is that she is the carrier of the demon sword, a sword that can end the world. If it's ever drawn, they hide from her, but she finds them right away, and she's like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, well, we actually just wanted to talk to you. She's like, you attacked me. He's like, yeah, we do that.
You wouldn't have talked to us.
Yeah, you wouldn't have talked to us. We kind of appear slimy. She's like, you do appear slimy. And then the sword starts talking. I was just like, that sword talks. The sword's like, all swords talk. What are you stupid? The sword is basically this evil entity that's constantly like, use me, use me, use me, and the world, and the world. Her one of the original witches had sealed the demon sword away, and her descendants have had to contain it all this time. And that's the other thing special about this witch. She is a literal descendant of one of the original 17 lines. Aren't all witches a direct
I would
descendant?
think so.
But for some reason, this bloodline is more purer.
Maybe it's how close you are to the original like strain. I don't know. Maybe it's like a firstborn thing.
Yeah,
like tracing through the firstborn.
They definitely say it's like different. Like, hey, this is just a regular witch who's a descendant of the origins, but this one's a descendant of one of the origins.
Right.
Okay. The drones come back and start attacking, and they offer to help her, and she refuses. Mostly because, in her experience, anyone around the sword wants the sword. The sword is literally like it's the ring of power. It's like, hey, use me. I'm totally not gonna turn you into a Nazgul.
Or a golem.
Yeah. But then the Matt comes back and attacks her, and Godot, who was sent to protect her, fights him to buy time. Not a full battle. And she's even like, why don't I just kiss her and we get the beast out? And Ashraf's like, nope, we don't know what's going on here. We don't go all in until we know we win. Or he says, until we have all our cards on the table.
All the cards on the table.
All right. A lot of stuff happens. Like, to the point where it was almost getting silly. Like, oh, they captured us. Oh, we lost the sword. We got the sword back. Oh, they captured us again. Back and forth, until they are finally captured. They end up in the flying castle in the sky.
Yeah, their headquarters is flying.
Just literally a flying castle. And the
reminds me of another class that was, but never mind.
That it was awesome.
A Ghibli like?
No, where water physics don't matter.
Hey,
anyway,
what did someone say earlier that if you're thinking about an anime when you're not watching it, that's a great anime?
Yeah,
I feel
actually,
like someone mentioned that. Weird. We keep thinking about Suicide Squad Isekai.
I didn't think about it.
Things remind me of it, and then I get angry again. This one had me just watching it. This one had me stewing on story points and how cool the characters are. That never happened with the other anime.
It is.
I didn't even remember
8 weeks.
Had a floating game.
Yeah, it's not been 8.
It's been a lot. I didn't even remember it had a floating castle.
Listen, you forced me to watch Kisniver, and I just get really upset.
We're back to Kisniver.
We force each other to watch something every other week. That's the concept of the show. Some hit, some miss. It's fine. I don't like the way I delivered that.
Anyways, Flying Castle.
Flying Castle. Evil
she
priest.
Gets knocked out of the.
No, not that. Evil priest has to reveal that he's evil, and then he does. Yes. And he's an executioner. The secret organization within the Holy Church whose purpose is to kill witches and take their power. Mm-hmm. It's a necessary evil, they say.
And they always run in pairs, just like the Sith.
Yes.
But he doesn't. He's not. He's here alone.
Well, he's a little.
His pair is missing.
Head. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His whole thing is like, I'm off the books on this one. This is for me. This is a personal one.
This is for me.
He has a magic glove that lets him control people, and a royal magic ring on top of it that lets him super control people when they combo.
The lore behind this thing is amazing. I do love this item.
Yep. All the kings.
Because it seems
together.
like mind control is fairly forbidden on its own. Like a lot of mages don't know how to do it.
I don't know. It probably depends on how like deep or permanent it is. Because there was that scene in.
Ashraf uses it.
Ashraf used it a little bit. Just to be like.
Well, that was more of a Jedi mind trick
for your wives.
What's the difference? Look. He's not a character I've listed to say anything, but I haven't hated a character this much in a long time. His monologuing is like he's almost a Bond villain. Like the way he stops to talk about everything he's doing and wants to do, and every character is just like, Go on. Yes, that
Yeah.
was all your plan.
Yeah, he was the king of exposition in this.
He's rough. He's rough, and his line delivery in the English dub, it didn't work for me at all. Also, so like Jason kind of alluded to, Godot, they're locked up, but Godot breaks out and she's saving Helga, but then she can't, and so just Godot and the sword fall out of the castle, and then Helga's like, "Come back and save me!" And then we jump to the
Never
next
mind,
episode.
I'll come to you.
Well, yeah, it's 5 minutes later, and the Helga and the bad guys just come straight to them. And I'm like, what?
But okay, there's something to be said about things people say that wind up being stupid in hindsight. And that's real. Like, that happens in real life. And so I could totally see her being like, come back and save me, because she figures she's going to be there while it's going to be this long drawn out mission. But
this is also
later.
But this is also our clue that the reason she's here is not of her own accord.
What do you mean?
She's mind controlled at this point.
Yeah, she's also captured. She would have to, even if she wasn't mind controlled.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, being able to like break free and jump over to him, and like,
you mean the 5 minutes later point? Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Our clue that she's mind controlled is when he grabs her by the head and mind controls her. He does lie and say, I couldn't mind control her, but also that had just happened with Godot. He does try to use it on Godot and it doesn't work. And I was like, there's no way they're going to do that twice in a row. It's just... Jeremy, I'm usually the first person who says, yeah, but this is realistic dialogue, or this makes it like real world. But choosing to make your characters say dumb things and then 5 minutes later,
it's very Tarantino-esque.
No.
Come on.
There was no feet.
No feet.
All right. So look, for me, this isn't landing very well. I'll just say that for this story beat, I was really missing what had been happening earlier. I'll leave it there. Helga gets away and then immediately attacks Godot because, hey, twist, she's mind controlled. And she steals the demon sword and brings it right back to him, which again, 5 minutes later they got away with it, and then 5 minutes later it's back in his hands. Oh man! And then he stabs her with it, which is how you unsheath it. But also, he draws it. Sorry, he draws it.
Troy's very upset. He's beating his mic up.
He draws it out and then says, "Did you think that would activate it? No, I have done research on this sword and drawing it." I'm like, get on with it.
Hold on, I must tell you for 5 more minutes.
I have read all the Wikipedia. I've done my own research on the demon sword, and I know how it works. And then Ashaf's like, oh, that's not actually how it works. Anyway, he stabs her. He unleashes. It turns into a giant monster who just like cups its hands together, and then slashes go out and destroy the city. And then yeah. Ashef's like, hey, that thing won't actually do what you want. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I know how it works. And I know it doesn't actually make me like God or anything, but it will destroy the world and it can't hurt me. And I have my magic glove, so I can control it. And Ashef's like, no, actually you can't, because it doesn't have a brain, because it's just a monster right now that you unleashed it. And then the bad guy's like, oh, I'll go kill more people with my glove, because it's one of those
powered up.
It's one of those instruments that needs sacrifice. He's like, I'll just go get like more sacrifices until it works. All right, yeah, sure. Go.
Brute force my way.
This anime is very brute force. It's weird because it also has the sort of detective nature, but the beast is brute force. This guy's brute force. Other times as well, it likes to give you the brute force approach. It's kind of weird.
Godot kisses Helga. The beast is unleashed. It has a fight with Matt helping, who's been injured. I didn't even skip the whole part where his left his right-hand man betrayed him, but we only knew that character by like one line of dialogue, so it wasn't even that much of a twist. It wasn't like 3 episodes of oh my god, that character's evil. I didn't see that coming. It was just like, hey, I work for the bad guy who also can mind control, but isn't mind controlling me. I just also happen to be evil.
And I have a fire sword. If that wasn't a hint that I might be used against
right.
ice.
Which would be really smart to have, like, hey, you're ice, I'm fire. We can take care of both sides of the elements. It makes sense they'd be teamed up. But anyway, yeah. So there's an ice beast sword monster fight, and Godot's so powerful is like, I'll only use my left, and beats it in one punch.
Yep.
But the sword doesn't fully die. It thinks it's dying, and it has a flashback like it's dying. But then Ashraf's like, it's probably not all dead. Only mostly dead.
Then ends up sheathing again.
We see the priest reaching the townspeople who are outside the barrier and being like, oh, good, I need help. Let me out. And then suddenly rocks start hitting him as Godot is flicking giant stones and taking off his arms and legs. And Ashraf's like, 5 degrees to the left. She's like, I can't do that. I'm just gonna shoot him. Bam, bam, bam. And takes off all his arms and legs because that is the fate of all people in this.
Right.
And then Matt's like, I will take these prisoners. And Ashraf's like, cool. Don't ask about me. He's like, I won't. All right. And they separate.
They weren't gonna. So there was. He gave basically the witch the choice as to whether they would be executed or not.
Right.
And she's weak and said, "I don't want to see any more deaths."
Jesus.
But make them suffer.
But make them suffer.
And then she joins the order.
Yep.
Yeah, she's gonna join the order. So we go into the next episode, which is really good, but we got right back on track. I didn't lose my faith in the show. That felt so shonen-y. Let's have a power battle with a very simple villain. It just didn't work for me.
Mm.
All right, the next one. So Ashraf is taking Helga to the organization through the corridors, and he leaves Godot behind, mostly still injured from the battle.
And decided to disable one of her legs
and arms, which we didn't know about, but yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, I had a quick question. Did Matt's arms come back?
Only his left arm. So he said, take my left arm if you need it, but I don't think that it took his left arm, but it did take his right. He had a crystal arm.
Right. In English, I used to take my left arm too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he is missing an arm. Was he always missing an arm, or was that just in this fight?
I never noticed it before, but in the fight, I did see an ice arm that he was using on the right side.
All right. That's right. Yeah. So they're gone, and then Godot's like, and Ashraf points out, Godot's really simple. As long as she doesn't hear like one thing, she'll just sit there and wait. And then it cuts to Godot. Kids go, I heard there's a witch nearby. Godot's like, take me to the witch. Ends up just being an old lady who have a very loyal dog and cat.
We gotta also mention that Godot's in bad shape and has an arm in a sling.
Yeah.
Like really broken body.
Yeah, because her body was not only being attacked by, Helga when she was mind controlled, but also that demon, or that sword demon, was hitting her body the whole time. But she was in her beast body, so she didn't care. And I assume Ashraf put her all back together. But again, left her not fully working.
Yep.
She even says, you should just heal me. He's like, nah, not yet. So she goes, hangs out with the old lady, and then suddenly an executioner walks in the room. At the same time, Ashraf gets a black envelope, is being informed that there's a witch nearby. So he goes sprinting back, and Helga's like, whoa, you are freaking out. What is going on? He's like, I am freaking out. We need to go. This executioner has a special magic cloak, which puts you into a special magic dimension where you can't move unless he wants you to, or even speak. And he uses it on Godot. And he's like, I'm here to ask you some questions because that other evil priest was my brother. And I was like, oh, okay, we're setting up the next villain. And then one of the kids starts just walking by. And I was like, wait, what? And turns out this is a witch. This little girl is the witch. And not just any witch, she's Angela, the literal witch we've been searching for the past 10 episodes.
And
The one
apparently
that
the
cursed Godot.
original witch.
Yep, she's one of the
Yeah.
17
One of the
origins.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are 17 original witches.
Mm-hmm.
But they should all be dead because it's been more than 200 years.
That's right.
And she's wearing a very similar cloak. And he's like, wait, where'd you get that cloak? She's like, I copied yours, but yours is better, so give it to me. And the next time we
She's
see
like,
this man,
I made it.
next time we see this man, he's dead with no arms and legs. A shocking twist.
Nailed to a door.
Yes. The hook through his head and letters on his chest. Yep. I actually felt bad for him, even though I know the executioners are horrible.
Basically, this is Angela gloating to Godot. And this is where we learn you're in my body. How's my body treating you? As she does. But also, she's grown bored. She was working on some other project and it didn't work out for her. That she's bored and wants Godot to start chasing her, even though that's what Godot's been doing. But she's like, I'm literally gonna make it easy for you to find me. We're gonna make it a game.
So bad at this.
I'm gonna leave breadcrumbs.
Chase me.
Chase me. Godot almost gets a kiss on her, but doesn't. And then by the time Ashoff and Helga return, they find her laying there, and the body, which has the words or 4B carved into it. Then we go to Ashoff is healing Godot, or is trying to help Godot, who's very angry and is torn up her room. And then Godot attacks him, knowing that he had left her in disrepair and even disabled her leg and arm, so she wouldn't be able to do anything while he was gone, blaming him for what happened. And he's like, yeah, I did it, but it was just to keep you safe, and I didn't know what was about to happen. I messed up. And she punches him so hard that he literally, she like finally is like gets over it, but she's like, leave. He's like, I can't. I gotta heal. So while we're doing it, let's do a flashback episode of How We Met, which ends up being a story of him on a mission to find a witch, and at the same time, Godot showed up to also get this witch. It's a little girl who can't talk, which means she's literally powerless because her bloodline cast spells by voice. But since she was born unable to speak, or she's cursed unable to speak, she's now been rendered powerless. Godot attacks and Ashoff stops her, but a giant magical beast suddenly appears and knocks Godot away. And so Ashoff captures her and talks with the kids and promises both to protect them, figure out what's going on, and trying to figure out what's going on with Godot. How'd you guys like the twist of the little kid being the monster man? We see him do it. We see him like touch his throat right before the monster appears.
Yeah, I saw it coming a mile away.
Oh, okay. I suspected him once they said like they were the only ones new in town. I was like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
There, it was also like he runs up, he's trying to help them. We see the silhouette of some guy watching from the window, and I'm like, okay, so that guy's definitely guilty. They wouldn't show us him otherwise. I don't know if he created the monster, but the kid is really suspicious. And when the kid said my dad and I was like, okay, that was his dad. Yep.
When the monster appeared, I noticed the scene of him putting his hand to his throat. And so I actually rewound it and rewatched it and was like, oh yeah, well, so the kid definitely made the monster. But my favorite part is when later he does it again. Ashoff's just like, that's twice, pulls out his gun and shoots the kid. Who manages to block it with the magical beast, but then is like, man, you had barely a clue and you just straight up shot a child. Ashoff's like,
I was right.
Ashoff gets really badly hurt by this kid who's an executioner with his father, who's the mayor of this town. They had been
No,
basically grooming.
his father's not the mayor.
What?
His dad's not
Yeah.
the mayor.
Yeah, no, he's not. They're just new to town.
Yep. The
They've
mayor
only
is.
been there for like a year.
Yeah. They killed the mayor. The mayor's body was in the building.
Yeah, the mayor was the one who called for help, wasn't
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they just killed the mayor and took his place as the new mayor in town.
The mayor just died in this
Oh,
scene.
okay. All right. So yeah, random guy and his son are executioners, but they have been
Neighbors.
neighbors and taking care of these kids. I thought it was the mayor who took care of them.
Mm-mm.
he? That's not what I remember.
Oh, fine. Great. Awesome. Show sucks. 1 out of 5. Let's go to our next anime.
We'll let you have it. He's the mayor. It's okay. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna throw a fit. Jerks. So we get to Ashaf is super hurt. Godot finds him and because he let her go, and he's like, hey, she wants to know what's the third way to remove the curse, because he's like, hey, I know a temporary way to get rid of the curse. He's like, well, I'm not telling you unless you protect those kids. And she's like, okay, I don't want to do that. He's like, well, do it anyway. You got to be good to people, and then you get stuff. She's like, fine. So he tells her. Does he tell her? No, he doesn't. He didn't tell her at all, does he?
No, he told the witch.
Tells the little girl. Yeah. So yeah, we then cut to the executioners. They've already killed the little girl's brother and are getting ready to kill her. Godot shows up and saves her, but she gets beaten by this executioner kid's dark beast thing it has. And then Ashaf shows up. He helps, and then he tells the little witch girl, like, go kiss the angry lady. And so the beast comes.
Lady.
The beast comes out and defeats the little boy executioner, and then at the same time, because Godot is in a witch's body, kissing her technically it could also remove your curse. So the little girl's curse is removed, and she goes straight up like, kill yourself to everybody. And yep. I was surprised, like when Godot jumped in, she's like taking villagers' heads off like instantly. Like they're not. I mean, they're doing horrible things. I get they just killed a little kid. They probably do deserve to die. But they also thought they were defending their village from an evil witch at this point. They'd just been tricked into it. But yeah, she just straight up takes their heads off.
Yep.
Anyway, so they win, and then the next day the brother's back to life because the little girl before Chris went away said, "Come back to life." He's not undead though because she just restarted his heart.
Yeah, apparently we find out this version of magic, the incantation version, is like the most powerful version of the magic they use.
We do get the whole lesson about runes, but how this brand of witch can go around the usual methods. Oh, and then we come back to modern day, and the two decide they kind of reconcile. He's finished healing, and they know where to go next. Well, at least Ashef does. So they go to this island with a bottomless pit in it. But in the bottomless pit are other worlds, 17 levels of them. And they get on an elevator and they go to the fourth world and they dress up in gothic attire and all black. And the groomsman, not groomsman, Taylor? Yeah, Taylor is like all black. You know what that means? He's like, yeah, I know what that means. So they put him in all black. That means you're a vampire. They're going to pretend to be vampires. But they're middle class, but need to be able to attend some upper class functions as well. And yeah, we literally end with Godot in this all black gothic dress and him and Ashaf in a top hat and opening the door into vampire world. And that's all he says. It's, here come the vampires, and that's where we end it.
Vampires.
Again, that got me like, wait, is every level its own thing? Are we just the witch level for someone else's level?
The very top.
Or not. Who knows in the magical world?
Yeah, that's a
True.
good point. Yeah. This could be what it looks like for each one.
But doesn't matter. We got to the end and a pretty fun, good anime for first time in probably a while.
Yeah.
So let's go to our final reviews. Jason, your pick. You saved the day. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't stop gushing about this anime. It just kind of did all the things that I like to see in stories. Great character building, great world building, great exposition, very well done fight scenes, and good mysteries. This is a just straight up 5. Like, I really recommend this one.
All right, Jeremy.
Same here. It's a 5 for me as well. I loved every minute of it. Even the stuff that you were complaining about, Troy, I totally see where you're coming from, but it didn't bother me hardly at all.
Me neither.
Yeah, there was just something so good about the world building and what was being shown, just about the depth of the magic system and just every bit of it. I even loved the exposition. As annoying as exposition usually is, I even loved that. So yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
It's not a 5. It's good. It's good. It's entertaining.
I mean, you like another isekai, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Look, it really, in my opinion, it really only has one major weak spot. Unfortunately, that was a 4-episode arc. So it's like a third of the anime that we actually watched. It's really cool. How do I say this without being mean?
Oh, just say it. I'm not gonna get offended.
I'm not worried about offending you. Or Jeremy. We have listeners. We have people who are like, "Oh, it's also my favorite," and I'm about to put it. I'm not gonna.
I've seen what makes you clap.
Yeah,
You're
we
boosting
know.
nothing I see what makes you clap. That is a great line. What I'm trying to decide is between a 3 and a 4.
Wow.
It's clearly a 4 then.
Clearly. Well, I mean, I'm there with you a bit. Like, it's not a high 5. Like, it kind of meets it meets all the marks for me to give it a 5.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
It's
no ReZero, but it was really good.
It's great. It's got some great characters. It's got great concepts. It's really tropey.
So that's a 3? What's wrong with you?
A 3 is like we give stuff we like 3s all the time.
No,
3 is mediocre.
Mediocre. Could pass. Could watch.
I give stuff
don't
I like
care.
3s. 3 to me is I walked away happy, but I'm fine being done. And that's kind of where I am.
So 1 is worst, 2 is not great, 3 is middle.
Yeah, I don't.
4 is pretty good,
worse.
and 5 is near perfect. Like anyway,
5
you give it your score because it's your score.
4 is like, this is really good, not perfect. 3, it was good. It was fine. Like it did its job.
Yes.
2 is I'm kind of glad it's done. 1 is this anime shouldn't exist.
Here's the question: was this anime just fine?
Yeah, but it was a high fine. Like, it was a fun fine.
No, that means it was pretty good. It just had problems, which you just defined as a 4. But you give it your score.
That's it. So Troy's score is a 4.
You talked me into it. It's a 3.
Ah!
Lock it in. High 3.
High 3.
Look,
I hope your internet goes out again.
I'd be fine if if I watched more, it'd be fine. But I'm also like, I'm not like, where's my season 2?
Well, just remember,
Oh, I
Troy
am.
gave-
I'm jonesing for a season 2.
Troy gave Core 1 of ReZero a 4. Just remember that.
That's yeah.
But the first time,
Yeah,
forgot about the second time. Right?
that's true.
We got to re-review it.
So we
See,
gotta make him
this
watch
is
it
what-
again.
This is what irritates me is that there was another anime that we just watched recently that you
That gave
also
a
gave a
3.
3.
Yes.
And I am offended
the
actually
same
now that I
level.
think about it.
Yes,
On the
I
same
think they
level.
are.
No,
Wow. You know what? Going up the stairs tonight, I hope you stub your toe and it hurts real bad.
Wow. So mean. Okay. Well, that's
Disappointed.
that's all
Jason.
we got for you.
He crossed a line, Jason.
Oh no, my arms and legs are in danger.
You better watch it.
It's justice.
Yes.
All right, so our next anime is no longer allowed in another world. In case you had missed that announcement, that's what we'll be watching next. A parody
Allowed in an
isekai.
anime
If you have
podcast.
thoughts on the Beast and the Witch, the Beast and the Kid, that's not right. What did I write that for? The Beast and the Witch.
Well, there was a Boy and the Beast. We watched that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Probably what it was.
No. Nope.
No.
Nope.
No idea then.
Yeah, I have no idea. When I watched that episode, I must have looked at something that said kid or something. Hey, it doesn't matter. Anyway, if you have thoughts on this, come to our website, theanimebakaclub.com. Hey, contact us. Tell us what you think. If not, you can find us on Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, wherever we're YouTube channel is called. I don't even know.
The Anime Baka Club.
Almost
Wherever
like
you
we do this on a regular basis.
wherever you find, we've never announced the YouTube channel ever. 203 episodes in. 5. 5?
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, 4.
An episode disappeared. You gotta read.
Mist appeared. It's weird.
I think I gave that a 3. No, I gave that a 4, didn't I?
No.
Near Automata? Did I
It
give that a
doesn't
3 or
matter.
a 4?
I don't agree with your opinions anyways.
I don't even remember now.
That's
I
the
don't respect
point
your
of the
scores.
podcast.
Scores are terrible.
Leave a comment wherever you found the podcast. Tell us who's
Oh,
right,
I will.
who's wrong.
Jason's
You're
gonna
banned.
leave a review.
You're moderated. That's it. That's it for us. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Someone, anyone, get us out of here.
We'll see you next time.
Sayonara.